Hey everyone, it is late at night and I'm Norman. So you know how families used to get out the slide projector and force everyone to sit around and look at old family photos? That's what we're gonna do tonight. We're gonna go through watches that I used to own, but I don't own anymore. However, we're not gonna go online and just pull up some pictures of them from various websites. No. We're gonna do something way better than that. So let us begin. Okay, so you know how your phone is like, oh, you have some memories to look at. That came up for me a bit ago, and as I was scrolling through the pictures, I realized that's a good idea. Why don't I sit here for like 2 hours and go through every single photo that Google has decided to upload to the cloud somewhere, and I'm going to pick out all the watches that I used to own, and I'm going to do a video on that. So we're going to go through all of these memories, and I'll let you know why I got rid of various watches, and more importantly, what is going on in those photos. And I have to warn you, some of these early photos are really blurry and terrible. Like this first one. So this is the Sandhurst, and you'll notice that my fire pit is full of papers. That is because I'm burning bags and bags of papers. And clouds of big, huge chunks of fiery ash just kind of floated down the hill into all the neighbors' yards. It was great. But the Sandhurst was absolutely beautiful. The only reason I got rid of it was I ended up finding the Smith's PRS 29A. And the Sandhurst kind of seemed a little bit redundant, and the PRS is smaller at 36 millimeters. So I decided that was the one I was going to keep, and I was going to let the Sandhurst go. Next up is the Nomos, and I think this picture was taken when the watch was very new to me. Such a gorgeous watch. I don't know why I never wore it, but I just never did. You can really see the long lugs in this photo, but honestly, in real life, they never bothered me. There appears to be a mimosa in the background, so it was probably morning time and I was probably relaxing watching something on TV. With my wife. Here's another shot of the Nomos, and look at how Bauhaus it looks in photographs. In real life, it looks much more dressy, because those indices and hands are chrome. They appear to be painted white in this photo, but they are not. Ah, the Black Dial Marlin. This is the watch that kicked off the trade challenge, so I never sold it, I traded it. However, had I known at the time that this watch is discontinued, I don't know if the trade challenge would exist. You can find these on eBay, but they're expensive and I'm not sure how many of those are actually brand new. Maybe at some point Timex will reissue this. Gotta love the Cinnamon Toast Crunch boxes though. And here's the Timex Marlin on the wrist. And it looks like I'm just sitting there swapping watches. I think I might have actually been making a bunch of social media posts while I was drinking a mimosa, watching TV with my wife. And this picture is really old because I still have carpet in the living room. I have to say though, that carpet made my mid-century looking furniture look all the more mid-century. Probably the only positive thing about that gross carpet. And look at this picture. All the watches. So crazy. I'm not going to say much about this picture because we're going to be seeing other shots of each of these watches. So I'll discuss them in their individual shots. Here we have a shot of the Jeanneau Ocean Rover. And I'm out and about somewhere. I don't recall where I was, but this was a gorgeous watch. Absolutely gorgeous. The only reason I got rid of it was because of the massive, in-depth expose on the founder of the brand. and some of the seedy stuff that he apparently was still doing. I was okay with the watch, thinking that in the past he made fake watches, but then went legit. But after reading that expose, I felt weird. And as brilliant and as just amazing as that watch was, it just felt strange. So I ended up parting with it. Here we have another shot of it in the car. Okay, and this is a shot of the lobby where we were going to be watching the Nutcracker. And I was wearing an amazing watch, but now I have an even more amazing variant of it. You might be able to guess what that is. Here's a shot of my wife and I right before going in. There's the audience. And our seats. And there's the watch. This is the Dolce Vita. This is the mechanical variant. You can see that it has a date at the 6 o'clock. And you can also see that it's pretty large. In fact, when I got this watch, I had not yet really gone little. But when I saw it, it was way bigger than I thought it was going to be. Rectangular watches are kind of unpredictable size-wise until you have some numbers as reference. And at that point in time, I didn't. But yeah, I didn't wear this watch terribly often, and I think the size and the date window were kind of the factor. But it looks brilliant in this photo. Here's another shot of it in the office. And it's great that these watches are out there, so if you have a larger wrist, this is the one to go for. It would look perfect on a larger wrist. Mine is not so much. And here we have a massive bottle of champagne. This was the crazy night that we went out to my favorite city, to my favorite steak place. The whole cul-de-sac went, well, my neighbor right next to me and across the way. We took a limo. However, before the limo even left, this bottle was pretty much done. Here's a shot of the restaurant, and I think this was a view from our booth, or right nearby. And there it is again, the Dolce Vita automatic. So I have quite a few pictures of it. However, like I said, I actually didn't wear it a ton. I wore it when I was dressed up like this, but otherwise, not really. And this picture's a little bit out of order. This is the limo ride as we were leaving. I mean, tank style watches just look so great with suits. They really do. And here's a shot that was taken before going over to the neighbor's house. So we're kind of going in reverse order. And this was back when I didn't have any fedoras or even my bucket hats. So I was wearing one of my pork pies with the front flip down. That's why it looks so strange. And yet another shot of the watch on that same day with Sirius in the background. Okay, this next one is interesting. I owned a Certina DS1, and at that time I was obsessed with Mad Men, and this one kind of had that pull router aesthetic that I like. It had the silver ring around the edge of the dial. It had crosshairs. So when I saw it show up on Joma Shop for a good price, I picked it up. And this was a watch that I wore with my wife, my brother and his wife. We went to Vegas. We stayed in a large, brilliant room in the Delano. And we went to the Skyfall Lounge. And this was the trip where I decided, you know, as I'm watching Mad Men, I love the feeling of seeing all of that mid-century architecture, decor, fashion. I decided that I was going to just dress up all the time and live in my own little Mad Men world. This was before the channel, but it definitely set me on the path that ended up resulting with me starting this channel. And the crazy thing about this watch is, even though I was starting to go little and knew that the watch was too large, I started kind of getting bothered by date windows. I knew I was going to be getting rid of it, but it was so crazy because this is the one watch that I've ever owned where just looking at it, had a visceral reaction. Like, it took me back to that Vegas trip. I would look at it and actually feel emotional. We had so many good times there, and it brought them all back. I don't regret selling it, but this is one watch that would be kinda cool to have. Just to have those memories flood back. And look at that dial. I actually like that super prominent seconds hand. It just looks cool. And they did do that date window really well. If it was white text on black, perfect. And here's a shot of my 595 Malvern. This is another absolutely brilliant watch. Everything about it was perfect, except the case size was a bit large. This is going to be a theme, isn't it? This is one of the very few watches that I got a compliment on. A barista at Starbucks noticed it and liked it. It would be cool to see Christopher Ward put out a reissue of these or similar pieces where they're nice and small. I mean, this was super thin. Such a sleek case on it, just beautiful. Super Bauhaus. And check out this shot. Playing around with my fisheye lens. This one's great. Here's another one. I personally like the branding at the 9 o'clock. I think that was super divisive with these watches, but I think it gives it an artistic touch, kind of an artsy little detail to it, to have it asymmetrical like that. And I feel like the hands that they chose were just brilliant. They didn't do pencil hands. They're nice and pointed, and the counterweights are pointed. They just looked amazing. There's no minutes track. I love that. And I love super thin batten markers. I feel like if this watch was at a 36 millimeters, maybe 35, I would probably still own it. And the last photo that I have is another shot of it. And just look at that. Absolutely brilliant. So there you have it. Some of the watches that I used to own and no longer do. I've owned others, but that was so long ago they don't even show up in memories anymore. My phone has no recollection of them. But if I can track down those pictures somehow, I may have to do a part 2. Thanks for watching.